best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
Hello everyone, welcome once again to Ask the Treksperts. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
Sarah, today we're going to do our Next Generation Season 2 overview.
Woohoo!
Yes, we have just gotten through Season 2 now. We're doing TNG in order. We did Season 1 overview about a month ago.
And now we're finally getting to some good episodes.
Yeah, right.
Not that Season 1 had no good episodes.
No, but we'll actually mention a few more good ones with this season. So, Season 2 has a few major changes right out the gate.
Yeah, Pulaski, for one.
And Crusher gone.
Crusher is gone, which was a great breath of fresh air for me.
I think you're becoming notorious for your hatred of...
I know, and I never used to be that way. But for some reason, just the last, 6 months or so, I've just noticed how much Crusher gets on my nerves in about half the episodes she's in.
You have the addition of 10 Forward.
Yes,
and you have
Guinan.
the addition of Guinan.
Mm-hmm.
All of which happens in that first episode, right?
Yeah,
in the Child, the first episode.
And both of those additions are awesome.
Mm-hmm. And what a cool set.
Oh yeah, it's great. And Guinan's just great. She adds so much to the episodes that she was in.
Do you think they were smart? Before we go to some other stuff, do you think with Guinan that they were smart to keep her so much in the background the way they did? I mean, Isn't it kind of unusual that a show like that would make kind of a major addition with a... I mean, she's a recurring character. She's not she's not a main character, but she was a main enough character that they started a couple seasons, maybe even the next season, putting her in cast photos and stuff on the bridge. So I mean, isn't it kind of unusual that you would add a character like that and that you'd give no background at all? You say nothing about where she came from. I don't think her species name is even mentioned yet.
Yeah,
I'm not sure Elorian even comes up until Time Zero. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think when she's talking about the Borg, she just says "my people."
I think so. Now, if we're wrong and somebody knows, let us know. But I think
part of the problem with our memory is that we know the species name already, and so it's not like we were looking.
Well, here's the thing. Also, they're trying to keep her really mysterious with that whole thing they do with her and Q in
and so you're really wondering what they could do to each other, but you never know.
You never know.
The thing I like about that, and I like it and I hate it, because she's such a good character that I'd love to see more of her. And I'd love for her to have gotten an episode. But
that was all about her.
Yes. On the other hand, it's really nice that they've set up a great mysterious character and she stays mysterious.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like that about her.
Maybe this sounds bad. She serves a purpose. It's like when if we gave away too much about her or gave her that really big fleshed out episode, suddenly we wouldn't be able to do with her the things that we could do with her before we knew all that stuff about her. I think that was a line they walked a lot closer with Garrick and DS9.
Yes.
I think Guinan and Garrick actually are really interesting characters to compare.
I would agree with that.
I'm not going to right now.
But yes,
we're talking about season 2. But
and both
but anyway,
characters I really like.
Yeah,
so
right.
So there.
But anyway, other big things that they changed with Season 2, the addition of Riker's beard.
Yes.
Which,
as a character. No.
Which was a joke I made before. What's funny about that is that it's an aesthetic that actually seems to kind of change the character.
In a way, well, I think it heightens his expressions. He seems to have different expressions with his beard. Without his beard, the expressions seem more nuanced. You actually have to look for them. He actually seems to. I was looking for it when I watched Season 1 again, and he actually has the same mannerisms and expressions.
Of course he does.
But they look different, and they come off differently when he has a beard, which I found interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. When I said that the beard kind of changed the character, I guess I was being somewhat facetious. I mostly just mean that it seems to almost be a symbolic thing.
Where he's grown up, he's...
Yeah, they gave him...
Well,
and it's almost as if the two things maybe didn't lined up accidentally, but where they let him grow the beard and they also let Jonathan Frakes be more Jonathan Frakes all simultaneously.
So they trusted him more because he was so awesome.
Yeah, so I don't think it really has anything to do with the beard. I just think that the beard is symbolic of the fact that now the character is cool and...
They're giving him more free reign.
Yeah, and it does help that he looks a little bit older.
Yeah.
But he immediately has more authority with that look.
He does.
And he's got some really fun episodes this time around. The one with the Klingons.
Yeah, Matter of Honor.
Matter of Honor, thank you.
Yes.
Is quite good.
Oh yeah, he just eats that one for breakfast. He's I mean just
Literally, in fact, he eats gawk for breakfast. No, not
yes,
for breakfast.
indeed.
But
But with all the cultural research he did before going onto the Klingon vessel, and then you could saw with the way he interacted with the Klingons that he had mastered it. Like he knew exactly what to do in each situation, and he was kind of on a precipice at various points where he could have easily been killed. Or,
I always appreciate
you
a
know.
character who's that cool under fire,
Oh, yeah.
and who really appreciates a challenge, and who's looking forward to the things that anybody else might be apprehensive of
Yeah.
in that kind of situation. You had Troy looking at him when he was eating all the Klingon food, like, wow, I can't believe you're doing that.
Yeah.
And I think Troy was the one that was there.
I think so.
And he's eating all that Klingon food, and he's like, no, this is great. Because it's like Riker seems to be the embodiment of, maybe I'm giving him too much credit. Starting in the season, it's almost like Riker is the embodiment of the idea of Star Trek in the show, where Kirk was our explorer in TOS. He lived to go out there and see what was out there. He lived for that.
Yeah.
He's got a speech where he says that. Riker is that in this show.
Yeah.
Picard's all business.
Right.
And Picard, and not that Picard isn't also an explorer and doesn't also appreciate those sorts of things.
But he's more of a scientist than.
He's also, and I mean, Riker's a diplomat also, but he also seems to be like very much in tune to Picard, very much in tune to like the political arena of the galaxy, and he's he's very duty bound, of course.
Yeah.
And Riker's just like, let's go out there and do some stuff.
Riker is
And
the counterbalance
I want
to
to
it.
experience this stuff. Let's go to the Klingon ship.
Yeah. No, he's a great counterbalance to
So
Picard.
instantly enjoyed him, of course, a lot more here. Picard's better this season.
Yes. Picard is, he doesn't have the emphasis on I hate children and I'm a grumpy old man. They kind of backed off and said, okay, now we've established his character, let's just let him act and be a captain. Which
He's
I
still not
appreciated.
quite where he's going to be in season
No,
3.
he
He
didn't.
doesn't get any big, awesome Picard speeches yet.
Yeah.
Not any big ones. I remember once or twice going, and that was pretty good. I can't remember what. Oh, I know. The speech he gives, I just remembered. The speech he gives Riker and Icarus Factor. We talked.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I'm bringing this up now because I meant to bring this up when we reviewed Icarus Factor last week. But one of the big components of that episode that we didn't touch on is that Riker is being offered a ship that he ultimately, of course, doesn't take to be the captain of. And he asks for Picard's advice. And Picard gives him this, what I think is this fantastic speech where he really spells out the pros and cons very eloquently. And he says, well, you can be, you can have this very distinguished position as being the first officer on the Enterprise, the flagship, or you can captain your own ship, a relatively unknown ship that nobody's going to talk about, but you're the captain.
You get to make all the decisions, yeah.
What a wonderful speech.
Yeah, it's great.
That's the first time that I feel like those two characters really come alive together on screen. And it's almost like the show realized it.
Yeah.
Because he calls Riker in, and he calls back to the talk that they have in Farpoint. And it's almost as if he's saying, I know I was kind of stolid and dull in Farpoint, and I never said some of the things that I should have said, so I'm going to say them now.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the place where they really click, and suddenly, not in a bad way, suddenly, but I mean, like suddenly these two are really coming together. They're really friends,
and you really feel like that. You understand why Picard chose Riker as the first officer.
So this show is starting to find its footing. Now again, it still doesn't entirely find its footing. Right. There are still lots of duds this season.
I think one thing this season had going for it was that it actually employed a lot more good concepts than first season. Like it started with a good concept, and then sometimes they just took off and zoomed with them, and then other times they could have done a lot better.
Yeah, and there's still some uneven pacing problems.
Yeah.
There's still those problems where we're talking too much about the idea of the episode and not telling enough of a story that happens. Let's throw out some really good examples and some really bad examples, shall we?
Okay.
Good ones would include Samaritan Snare.
Yes, where they took a really interesting idea of, here's the ship and the aliens seem dumb, but they're not.
Well, yeah,
kind of.
Although
And
I
then-
see Samaritan Snare as a better episode more for the B story.
You like, yeah.
Because
Wesley and Picard getting together. And,
yeah, and again, finally they're saying, oh, we probably should actually do some character interactions and figure out like what these people think of each other and go some places with it.
Yeah.
And so it was not. So again, that went a long way too. Picard's not just I hate children now. It's more I'm not sure how to talk to Wesley Crusher.
Yeah.
But then they make a connection, and it's a good one. I buy it.
Yeah.
But also it's one of those really rare bits of continuity where they make up a backstory for somebody and they stick to it all the way through.
Yeah.
Star Trek has a problem with this sometimes,
Yeah.
where they like to, where sometimes Trek will retcon some things, and here, middle of second season,
Yeah.
you get this is how Picard got his heart messed up.
Yeah, and they stick with it. You get it in Tapestry again, and it keeps coming
They
back.
always keep it pretty much exactly the same,
Yeah.
and it's a really good backstory for him.
Yeah.
Because they actually really. I think part of the reason that people who really know their Trek love Picard so much is because not only do we have a man who's so grounded and who is so grounded in his principles, but you also know how he got from a kid that wasn't that to that.
Yeah.
There's actually a progression that gets you there, and that makes it more realistic. And so we can look up to him and identify with him.
Yeah.
That's key.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that's why I love Samaritan Snare.
And I like the Packlids.
Oh, the Packlids are
You know,
hilarious.
that's deep. Sorry, but no. It's just a fun episode all the way around, and you can get some good character development. You can get some just good fun interaction and great one-liners like "he is smart" or "teeth are for chewing." It's a great episode.
Other good ones.
Other good ones. Well, let's see.
Peak performance.
Peak performance. Yeah, with the Zach Dorm, Cole Rami. Yeah, that's a really good one. I think Riker really shines in that one.
I think Data really shines.
Data really shines in that one. I think, yeah, it's just a good solid episode.
What I really appreciate about that one is that it's going to be the second to last episode. It's going to be the second to last time you see Pulaski, and Shades of Grey being what it is, it might as well be the last, really. But you look at. You look at how annoying she was early with the whole I don't like Data, I don't like...
Yeah, he's a machine and I can't get my mind around that.
You get the peak performance and she's lost that entirely. And at that point, she's rooting for Data to beat this guy,
Yeah.
and she's impressed with him for coming up with a way to defeat him at stratagema.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I thought that all was really, really strong. She's great in that.
Yeah, she's embracing his abilities, and then also dealing with his flaws a bit too, and able to actually work with him and see him as a whole person.
Let's talk about Pulaski for a minute, because she kind of went down in history as being one of the worst characters in TNG. I don't agree with that.
I don't, and I think the problem is her early episodes, and I think the problem is with, one, how she acts with Data, and she just thinks of him as a machine earlier on, and she just can't get her mind around it, and she gets a lot of really bad dialogue, and she sounds really stupid early on, because that's her big thing. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing, I don't know, I think maybe some people might see this as a negative, just her interaction with Picard, where you see two kind of grumpy, stubborn people butting heads.
That's
and,
a good point.
They grow beyond that and actually have quite a bit of chemistry later on, but early on it doesn't quite seem to work so well.
We said this before. I think had she been in another season, she would have grown on people.
Oh yeah. She's a great actress.
The one episode that she's really, really featured in is the one where she gets old.
Yes, yeah, Unnatural Selection.
Thank you, and she's good in that.
She's very good in that, and I used to not like that episode because I didn't like Pulaski. And
she gets a good character arc in that. I like that. I mean, she does something very heroic in that episode, and you can't help but care about her. She says, "I'm going to put myself on the line to try to fix this problem, to try to find the cure for this rapid aging disease." And in a neat twist that Star Trek wouldn't always try. Somebody puts themselves on the line, and guess what? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then she says, "Well, can't feel bad for myself. I was 100% sure I was right, and turned out I was wrong. So
that's why she's so sympathetic in that. Is she doesn't complain. She just deals with it.
And I know this is another stab at Beverly Crusher, but I can't help but feel that if Crusher had been in that situation, she would have done the same pig-headed thing, and tried to prove her point, but then when she was aging rapidly, she would have been all whiny.
Well, what does she do later on when she breaks the rules in that one episode with the Ferengi doctor, Dr. Rega?
Yes, suspicions.
Yeah,
yeah.
When you get there and she loses her she almost gets kicked out of the Federation or out of Starfleet.
Yeah.
And she mopes about it the whole episode.
She does, yeah.
And it's a good episode.
But
I mean, she goes to Guinan and she really and Guinan is kind of there to tell her, hey, quit moping.
Yeah.
And you made a decision. You have to live with it. I think Pulaski wouldn't have needed Guinan.
Right.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah, she has a very strong personality, and she's very. This is how I feel, so this is how I'm going to act.
And then we should mention Q-Who.
Yes.
Because of course,
introduction to the Borg.
That's a major thing.
Yes.
I think arguably Q's best episode. If not that, then maybe the one that where he turns human, which I really love.
Deja Q.
Deja Q. Mm-hmm. That's a great Q episode too.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite.
But Q-Who's great.
Yeah, Q-Who's great.
I mean, I don't know if we even really need to talk about that. I think most Trekkies know about Q-Who. But
yeah, it's just another one of those. Let's teach humanity and particularly Picard a lesson. And this one comes off really well, where you're not necessarily ready for everything that's out there waiting for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Picard says, by the end, yeah, you're right. We do need to continue to grow and advance as a species, and one day we will be able to face the Borg. And of course, that happens a lot sooner than you might figure.
And I like that. Well, I of course like two really big things about it. It's a setup episode for something major that's going to happen later, and it's really nice that they're building some continuity. But also that three Q episodes in, they're saying he's not just going to be this imp that messes with people. He's got a point to make.
Yeah.
And of course he takes a really extreme method to make that point. It's going to really mess with the Federation.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what needed to happen.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
I mean, 18 people are killed in that episode, and when Picard calls Q on that and says, "Well, are those people really dead?" Because because last time
Wesley Crusher didn't get killed when he got impaled through the heart.
Oh darn! But but Q says, "Well, if you can't handle the bloody nose, you shouldn't be out here at all."
That's exactly what he says.
In a way, he has a point.
Well, we've been going for quite a while. Let's go ahead and throw out some episodes we didn't really like real quick. Outrageous Akona.
Well, the problem with that is that the thought.
I'm sorry. I've got to say it like Batman Brave and the Bold Aquaman. Outrageous Akona. Sorry.
Yes, indeed. The problem with that episode was not so much the plot, even though that was kind of dull. The problem with that episode was that it thought it was funny.
Yes.
And
exactly.
It told us.
The guy who played Akona was actually not terrible.
I like the guy.
I just found it obnoxious because they spent the whole episode talking about his personality.
Yeah.
Why don't you, I don't know, let him just be the guy that he is?
Yeah, exactly. They were too busy saying, look at this line. This specific line is funny. If you're not laughing, this is a problem. Like that joke that Whoopi told and Day didn't laugh, and neither did any of the rest of us, and she says, well, come on, that's funny. It's like, okay.
The season has a lot of episodes, or at least a few, that are not good episodes, but really fun to watch. Like, the Royale.
I love
not
that.
a good episode, but really fun.
Yeah, Elementary Dear Data.
Oh, no, that one's actually really good.
See,
oh, come on.
The problem with Elementary
that episode.
I know, and I love that episode.
All right.
But it's not necessarily... It has its issues. And I think they fix all those issues in that episode sequel.
Okay, all right.
That's fair. The first time I watched that episode, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, but...
And then I saw the follow-up, Ship in a Bottle, and then I said, oh, the first episode has problems, and now I know what they are.
But what fits more on that list, of course, is Where Silence Has Lease.
Yes, which is awesome because of the one-liners, but if you're not into that, it's kind of boring, and very
goofy.
make fun of all.
And
one Riker, one bridge.
And one of those things that's a little too obvious in its point.
Yeah.
Whereas we're doing we're doing a greater being that's experimenting on us like lab animals.
Yeah.
That would have been better had they not come out and said that. Oh, I get it. It's like we're lab animals.
Yeah. Another episode I didn't like, but really didn't have very many good qualities, was The Emissary.
It sucks that The Emissary is not a good episode because
I love K'Ehleyr.
K'Ehleyr is great, and again, Reunion is a really good episode.
Yeah, it was a great concept to bring her in, but
when she comes back, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
It's just boring. Nothing happens in it.
Yeah, yeah. And then of course I guess we should throw Shades of Grey out there.
Yeah, it's a clip show.
It's just there.
You didn't hate it as much as I did.
I didn't, because I thought the plot was actually not that bad. If you're going in thinking, oh well, it's going to have some clips from season 1 in it, okay, fine. Then it's not that bad of an episode. At least it's not painful to watch.
And of course, Manhunt, Lexana Troy, again,
Yes,
not as bad as I remembered it.
Not as bad as I remembered it either. But Lexana Troy had to grow on me. I had to see enough of her episodes, and I think I had to see her episodes in DS9 and see where her character actually progressed to before I could come back and enjoy her early on.
Times Squared is a weird one.
Yes, and I enjoy it. I think it sets the groundwork for a bunch of those weird episodes that TNG is famous for.
Yes.
And I think they do them better later on, but Times Squared is kind of a good beginning.
I think the Royale is trying to do some of that. I think Times Square is doing a better job of it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, finally, we should probably mention Measure of a Man, because that's one of the most
yes, and
important
I know
episodes.
people love it because they love Data.
I liked it better this time than I did last time.
I still didn't.
Okay, all
I
right.
still can't get my mind around that. That guy is stupid. He's not sympathetic, and I just can't. You know, that trial courtroom type scene could have been awesome, and there were definitely some great cases being made, definitely great points in the episode.
It's another
but as a whole,
place where Picard has a decent speech. Again, it's not one of his best speeches ever.
And Riker sets up.
Compare that to the Drumhead, which is another court episode, and it doesn't hold a candle to what Drumhead
Yeah,
does.
but Picard is great in that. Riker makes a great case for why Data. But
I love it when he takes his arm off. I mean, that's good stuff.
So I mean, the trial itself is fantastic. But everything outside of that is just.
Is the problem partly that you have the sense before that episode that they had been there and done that already?
Why is he in Starfleet? I mean, why is he actually an officer?
Why didn't they actually question that at the beginning when they've never had a machine go through Starfleet? Yeah.
Okay, so they let him go to the academy. They let him take the classes. They let him graduate. They let him rise in the ranks and become, a lieutenant commander by this point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then they're finally saying, well, but we think you're property. Mm-hmm. And that's all you are. You're a toaster.
Yeah, it's more that one person comes in and says, hey, I think this guy's property, and all of Starfleet breaks down and says, oh my goodness, we never thought of it that way.
So would you allow, a piece of property, just hypothetically, to be in a command position on your flagship?
Well,
really?
that's not how it comes off. It comes off like, before they never questioned it, and now because one person thinks to question it, they go, oh, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess he isn't alive. Okay, well,
yeah,
but it just comes out of nowhere. The guy makes no good arguments, and he seems very unsympathetic. I
have a theory, or an idea. I think that episode would have been served better as a flashback episode.
Possibly.
I think you go back to before Data's on the Enterprise, or before he even goes into Starfleet, and have a trial.
Yeah.
And say, is this person human?
Yeah.
Or is this person alive?
But I think the problem with that, possibly, is that you wouldn't have known enough about Data's character. They couldn't have pointed back to instances. It would have been, I think...
yeah, that's true.
It would have been a more interesting trial, but it would also have been a more difficult trial for Data, because...
Plus, it would have focused on characters we didn't know anything
exactly, but... I almost think that was a no-win situation for him.
Maybe
It was maybe a point that had to be made somewhere, maybe just not in that fashion.
Yeah, it was more. It felt very much like this is something we really want to do.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't quite work. Yeah. But well, anyway. Well, that's our season 2 overview for TNG. Yeah. I think we covered quite a bit of stuff.
I think we did. Yeah.
We talked longer than we meant to, but I guess we had more to say than we thought.
Season 2 is a better season than season 1. So.
Oh, but I can't wait for 3. There's some whoppers in 3.
Yeah. It keeps getting better until...
Well, at least for a while, it's going to keep getting better. Well, thanks a lot for watching Ask the Treksperts. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
And we'll see you next time.